station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is station. We are ready for the event.
Houston ACR, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Houston ACR. How do you hear me?
Hi, we have you loud and clear. How about us?
Have you loud and clear as well. Please stand by for opening remarks.
Здравейте. I'm the U.S. Ambassador to Bulgaria, Hero Mustafa, and I would like to welcome you to the in-flight education downlink with the International Space Station, hosted by our partners at the Atlantic Club here in Sofia. It is my hope that this program will inspire the children of today to become the explorers of tomorrow and walk in the footsteps of Neil Armstrong, Georgy Ivanov, and Alexander Alexandrov. Let's keep reaching for the stars together. And now, here's our first question.
Hi, I'm Sophia from Sofia. I'm 7 years old, and my question is, what would you get as a gift for a kid from space?
That's a fantastic question. If there was a kid from space and we define that as somebody who grew up in an environment in orbit without standing on a planetary object, I would want to give them a walking stick because I think they'd have a hard time dealing with standing on a surface and being able to move around very well.
Hi, my name is Vande Hei and I study at St. Clement Ohersky Secondary School. My question is, does the Artemis program plan to research and develop extraction of minerals on the moon, such as helium-3, and apply their usage back on Earth to maintain the ecological balance of our planet? Thank you.
It's a great question, and the deeper we go into space, the less resources we can take with us because it's going to be too much mass, it's going to be too expensive, it's going to be too complicated. So the solution to this is actually to find the resources wherever we go, and that's good because on the moon or on asteroids, there's a lot of resources. We're looking for water, we're looking for all those things that are going to allow us to live on the surface of the moon. We're even looking at 3D printing our habitat with lunar regoliths. This is actually a great material if you want to 3D print something big out of it. So there's lots of studies in the different space agencies, and obviously if we learn to do this on the surface of the moon, we can apply all those advances, all those technology advances on Earth and make life better.
Hello, my name is Hannah. I'm studying in Novakind, and I have one question, and it is how does the space station survive the space trash, who is very quick? How doesn't the trash just crash in the space station?
Another fantastic question. The space station was created with this environment in mind. So we do two things. One, we keep track of the debris, and then we try to avoid it if we know that it might be in our vicinity. And the other thing is the space station was built with layers of protection. So it's survived multiple impacts, and we've never lost pressure because of orbital debris, and I'm happy to report.
Hello, I'm Yuan, and I study in St. Sophia, and I have a question for you. What unites you there on the space station and makes you a great team?
I think a lot of things make us come together as a team. I think, generally speaking, we have a common goal, and that's really, really important. There's something we want to achieve that concerns all of us. And it's about research, about exploration, and we sign in very hard for that goal. We're all convinced that it's a good thing. And I think also, generally speaking, we try to focus on our similarities. Everybody is different. Obviously, we come from different countries with different cultures. We speak different languages. But we try to focus on the similarities more than on the differences. And when you do this, you find out people are the same everywhere. So it's a realization that you do. I mean, it doesn't take going to space to do this, but going to space certainly helps. And that's why we have such a great team up here. And we're having fun.
Hello, my name is Boris. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I go to Algonquin Middle School. My question is, now that global warming is a big part of our lives and air pollution is one of the biggest parts of global warming. Do you guys have a solution of how there could be more environmentally friendly rockets that don't leave so many bad gases when they are launched to outer space?
It's a very important question. Right now, the impact from space travel is much less than commercial air travel. But just like we're making efforts to try to reduce the environmental impact of commercial air travel, as space travel becomes more and more prevalent, we've got to pay attention to that and try to make sure that we are protecting the environment. My hope is that as more people get the opportunity to see the Earth from outside the atmosphere and recognize how thin that layer is, like we've had the opportunity to do, that more and more people have a very passionate feeling of wanting to protect that very delicate atmosphere.
Hi, my name is Gabriela Lazarova. I study at Foreign Language High School Academic Людмила Stoyanov. My question is, what is the way of predicting and calculating long-term future occasions of threatening the Earth?
Yeah, actually, it's very much to the point. If you're talking about what's happening on the Earth as far as climate change and things like this, it's actually from space that you can monitor all this. Most of the variables that you have to measure in order to conclude scientifically are measured from space. I mean, you're not going to spread the fleet of sheep all over the oceans just to measure water temperature, but you can do this with a satellite. You can do this with instruments on board the International Space Station. So it's what we do here is what the satellites do up here that actually feeds the data to the scientists to help them conclude on Earth. And I think if you're talking about what could threaten the Earth as far as asteroids or things of that nature, there's also a lot of means that are put into monitoring those occurrences. And there were a lot of studies made even about redirecting an asteroid if there was going to be a conflicting trajectory. So luckily it never happened. We hope it never does in the future, but if it does, we'll be ready.
Hello, I'm Alex Arseniev and I am 7 years old. In September, I will be a first grade in 34th school in Sofia, Bulgaria. My question is, how do you celebrate birthdays in the space?
I can tell you that what we do not do is we do not light candles. We celebrate birthdays in space. A lot of times we'll surprise the person who's got the birthday by hanging balloons up. And we like to maybe create a gift for them, or sometimes if we plan well enough, we can have something sent up, something tiny to show how much we appreciate them and make them feel special that day.
Hello, my name is Michaela. I study in the French school Victor Hugo, and I have a question. My question is, if we make an elevator from here to the space, what will be the highest point?
Oh, that is a hard question. So if you had an elevator going from the Earth to space, it would need to rotate at the same rate that the Earth is rotating on its axis. So that means the center of mass of this elevator would have to be at the geostationary orbit where our telecommunication satellites are, and that's 36,000 kilometers away from the Earth. So that's really, really far away. That means an extremely long cable, and that's just the center of mass. It means there should be also some mass further, deeper into space to counterbalance the mass that's also closer to the Earth. So right now, it's a concept that is promising, but we're not technically capable of building one, if only because we don't have the materials that have the strengths to be able to withstand just the forces that it would take to build that elevator. But in the future, probably at the end of the century, that's going to be a common thing, and then we won't need a rocket to go up to space. You can simply climb on an elevator.
Hello, my name is Lechko, and I am 10. I study 52nd school in Sofia. My question is, they say the universe is infinite and expanding. Can you say how something infinite can expand?
That's a very tough question. In fact, one of the things I love about science is that we deal with questions like that and try to find ways to measure things and make theories and then test them. I do not know the answer to that question, and I hope that someone from your generation in the future will learn enough about it because of science to be able to explain the answer to me someday.
Hello, my name is Bojan and I study in Vande Hei School in Sofia, Bulgaria. My question is, what's the feeling to be in the open space outside the station?
It's an amazing feeling. It feels, so first of all, it's pretty scary because you're not protected by those deep, thick walls that we have. You're by yourself in your spacesuit, which doesn't seem like much to protect you from the harsh environment of space. And then you're kind of looking at the void underneath your feet. So if you're scared of heights, then that's not a really good moment. But then I think after a while you get used to it, and then it becomes exhilarating. It's just so cool to be out there. If you kind of turn your back on the space station, you look out and you see only space. It's like you're a little spaceship by yourself. You flying by yourself. It's the ultimate experience of flying. And then you look at the Earth, and it's like this giant bowling ball of every shape and color is rotating underneath your feet. And that's really beautiful and magical. So we have a lot of work to do when we go out. We don't have much time to take in the scenery, but when you do, when you get a couple minutes, then those are memories that will last forever.
Hello, my name is Mikhail, and I'm from Sofia, Bulgaria. My question is, can a hen lay eggs? And if so, will there be any structural abnormalities of the egg, like the shape, the content of the egg?
Another fantastic question, and a question that I think someday we'll have to do an experiment to find out the answer to. We have had animals, including birds, in space. But we have never done an experiment to see what happens when they lay an egg. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to answer that question due to experiments as well.
Hello, my name is Daria. I study at St. George. My question is, when will children be allowed to travel in space?
Yeah, I think in a not so distant future, like Mark was drawing a parallel between air travel and space travel that I think is very much to the point, because plane travel started like this. It was dangerous, it was difficult, only a few people could do it. Then it was very expensive, only like the richer people could do it, the more wealthy people. And then it became a more common thing that everybody could experience, and it kind of brought people together. So hopefully we're on the same trajectory with spaceflight, and that means for now it's only professionals, but you see it opening up now. There's going to be more private passengers, so to speak, and then in a not so distant future there'll be children as well. There's no reason not to think that this is going to happen. So I say, I don't know, maybe 10, 20, 30 years maximum, I think we'll see maybe families go up into space. Why not?
Hello, my name is George and I'm from Bulgaria. I study in 10th school Teodor Trajanov. My question for you is if it is true that on Jupiter it rains diamonds. I've seen a lot of sources saying that, but I don't know if it is true. Can you tell me if it is, and why does this happen?
What a fantastic question. Because you asked this question, I actually did some reading to try to learn the answer. I know, from what I understand, and it's surprising, that when lightning happens on Jupiter, methane turns into carbon, and then as those chunks of carbon fall towards the surface, they turn into first graphite and then diamonds up to 1 centimeter in diameter. And I'm not sure the chemistry associated with that, but so I can't explain why, but I certainly think it's a very, very interesting phenomenon.
Hello, my name is Andrei Bachvarov from Sofia. On the Earth we have storms, rain, snow. Is there something like space weather? Thank you.
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is something like space weather. It's mostly, but it's not related to water like is most of our weather on the Earth. Like there's wind and water, clouds, rain, things like this. Up here, it's mostly particles that rain from the sun. Is when the sun flares up, then suddenly we can be bombarded by particles, or sometimes we get particles, charged particles from distant regions of the universe. So we can track those events, we can predict those events, and it's the same as the weather reports. You know that there's going to be a lot of activity on the sun, so you have to protect yourself from those particles, just like you protect yourself with an umbrella from rain on the ground. And luckily, people on the ground in space agencies, NASA, ESA, other places, they're able to give us that information, and we can protect ourselves. So yes, there is space weather. We have to take it into account to stay safe, just like you would on the ground.
Hello, I'm Antonia. I study it in Italian school. My question is, what science do you need to study to become an astronaut?
There are astronauts with a wide variety of backgrounds. We've had scientists or people with science backgrounds like physics, chemistry, biology, medical doctors, immunologists. So we need to solve very complicated problems. We need a wide variety of perspectives to come up with the most creative solutions. So I think and in fact, computer science sometimes too. We've had people specializing in computer science who became astronauts. So I would say if you're interested in becoming an astronaut and are interested in sciences, find one that you love, and then it won't matter if you become an astronaut or not, because you'll love the process of studying and learning more about the science that you get involved in.
Hello, I'm Mitko. I'm from Sofia. My question is, if you can go anywhere in space, where would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, right now we're in space, so that's already pretty cool. And as the farther you can go, but the day you can go further away, then I think we'll all volunteer and we'll try to go see what's out there behind the horizon. I think right now we're trying to go to the moon and learn a lot of stuff there, but the end goal, what we're really trying to do, I think, is go to Mars, because it's like a twin sister to planet Earth, and we could learn so much about ourselves, about where we come from in the universe, and what might happen to us if we don't take care of our planet or things like this. We might learn the answer to those questions on Mars. So I think Mars is really promising, and it's also one of the few destinations that we can reach given the state of our technology. So in the future there'll be thousands of other destinations in a distant future, but for now I think Mars is really the goal, and that's what everybody's working towards.
Hello, my name is Denisa Chorova. I study at Foreign High School, and my question is, if you study the surface of the moon, can this give us more information about life on Earth 4.6 billion years ago?
Absolutely. The proximity of the moon and the Earth mean they've had a similar history. However, the lack of atmosphere on the moon, the lack of plate motion, the lack of vegetation and water flow means that the surface of the moon remains largely unchanged, whereas all those things on the Earth constantly change the surface of the Earth. So it's a great way for us to understand the early Earth and what the environment was as the Earth formed.
Hi, my name is Kalina, and I study at Constantin Kirov the Philosopher Secondary School of European Languages. My question is, how do you imagine traveling space in 1,000 years?
Oh wow! I think in a way I can see it becoming much more common. Just like if we take the parallel with aviation again, it's gonna be normal. Maybe we go to other planets. Maybe we have colonies on distant planets. It's science fiction today, but I think we're not that far from there. I mean, look at it. We've been living and working in space for more than 20 years. There's been like people living in space for more than 20 years non-stop. But that's something that nobody could have imagined 100 years ago. So let alone 1,000 years ago. So So I think we shouldn't put any limit to our imagination. Anything you can think of, anything you can conceive with your brain, I think honestly it has a chance to happen if you wait long enough or if you work hard enough for it. So I think in 1,000 years, there'll be a lot of exciting things that will have happened. I cannot really imagine the details, what the technology is going to be, what the ships are going to look like, but I think we'll have ventured much further into the cosmos than we've done up till now. We've been doing it for 50 years, 60 years. That's not much. 1,000 years, we'll be far, far, far away from planet Earth.
I'm Solomon Pasi of the Atlantic Club of Bulgaria. On behalf of all partners who made this conversation possible, including the U.S. Embassy in Sofia, and on behalf of the children of Bulgaria, thank you, NASA, and thank you, astronauts, for answering our questions.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.